Hello, everybody. Welcome in. It's Laura from Tenacious Taurus Twin Flame Tarot, and welcome to the membership side of the channel. I know I said every Thursday we would be going live at noon, and so yesterday the live at noon was done on the public side of the channel just to give everybody a bit of a taste of the things that are to come on this side, on the other side. And so I've already been in talks with other YouTubers and people that I've worked with throughout the years on my awakening journey, and we're going to have some fun over here on the membership side, doing lives, and we're going to talk about Ascension. We're going to be pulling cards, but in lieu of yesterday's live being public for the full moon in Leo, I wanted to talk about what is Ascension and why does it hurt so much. And so many are just coming back online for the awakening journey. I've been on the path for a few years now, several years now, and so I do feel it's kind of time to start sharing a lot of the things that I journaled about, that I researched about at the beginning of my journey, to kind of bring the understanding forward. And I'm going to share some more personal aspects of my own twin flame journey on this side that I feel is a safer place to share. So let's talk about Ascension, guys. Why does that have to hurt so much? And so we keep hearing all of these talks of Ascension, and if you're here, you've heard it. And so what is it? What does it mean? What does it mean to go from 3D Earth to 5D Earth? It can be a little confusing, right? And so, because we really don't see a lot going on in our external reality, and so it's like a shift. It's a shift in our thoughts. It's a shift in our consciousness. And so it's an activation of our chakra body, our spiritual body. And so when we go through the shift, it's going to affect us all differently. We all have our own personal birth chart, which holds karma that we're here to clear. We all have karma. Karma goes both ways, right? And so the universe is always seeking to kind of bring that balance into our lives and into the collective, and what goes around comes around. And ultimately, we are all interconnected. We are all beings of the cosmos. And so we're all kind of reconnecting to the multiverse. We're all going through major spiritual growth and activations, and we're reconnecting to our own personal divinity and the God source energy that we came from that big bang when the universe was created. And so humankind is going through this shift. Not everybody agreed to go through the shift. And so we are kind of seeing the split take place. And so we're in the process of working through some very intense energies with Pluto in Aquarius. And so how this happens is, as all of these planets kind of move through our system, they activate certain aspects within our own personal birth chart, and the intensity of the awakening that you go through and the length of the clearing and all of that is going to be dependent on your own personal birth chart. And if you'd be interested in booking in a personal reading for that, I'd love to do that, because it is life-changing and eye-opening. And so some of us are aware of the shift. Those of you that are here are aware of the shift, and you're seeking, right? You're in the energy of seeking. Some of us aren't. And so those that don't want to shift beliefs, that aren't open to this awakening, it might appear that some of them are going crazy. I know I thought I was going crazy too in the beginning. When my third eye popped and activated, I thought I was going crazy. Like, I thought I was going to die. It was the worst growing pains I ever felt. And I have had 2 daughters. And so way worse than giving birth. It was just terrifying. And so a lot of us have these spiritual experiences when we're children, and then we go through a 0 point or an energy of, childhood wounding, which puts us in a state of trauma or 0 point, where we shut down our gifts. And so I can also pinpoint that 0 point from childhood and get you to open up to any repressed childhood memories as part of the awakening. I kind of serve as like a mediator from the divine, and I activate certain codes within you as we go through these channeled astrology readings. And so right now, a lot of us are going a little bit crazy, right? Because the old is dying away. We don't know what's going on. Our mind is shifting. Our thought processes are shifting. And if you have major fixed placements in your birth chart, it's even more triggering, right? And so to go through this process can be very painful, but it can be very beautiful too. It's all in what you choose to do with the awakening process. And so it can be drudged out for decades, or you can kind of like dive headfirst into the process like I did, and you can kind of be fast tracked. And so honestly, the last 4 years, it's just been accelerated ascension. And we have positive symptoms and negative symptoms. And so I thought it would really benefit a lot of you if I talked about the symptoms, if I talked about the shift and what you're experiencing, and to let you know that it's okay. If you feel you need to go see a therapist or see a doctor, do that. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm just trying to bring some awareness to the normalcy of this awakening process and this new in tuning, like, frequency of the universal energies that are being downloaded. Because I went through this. I went through the bottoming out. 555. I went through the bottoming out about 5 years ago. And so I was forced into this awakening. It finds you. It's not like you go looking for it. It finds you. And when it happens, it's like a natural forcing energy, awakening you to these newfound abilities, these newfound forces. And so we have to rise above the 3D world. We have to rise above this existence. And it's okay. It feels like it's not okay, but it's okay. So ascension symptoms. You feel like you're in a pressure cooker energy. It's intense. You just feel like, I guess the best way to describe it, I guess, is tarot talk, like a 5 of wands inside. It's like a war raging inside of you. It's intense. It's stress. It's scary. It's fear. And all of these overwhelming energies come into your mental awareness as your higher vibration frequency is activated. And so you got to adjust. And so the spiritual is instant. The physical takes much longer to catch up to the physical. And so you go through the awakening and everything is instantly made manifest in the spiritual, but in the physical, it's like drudgery. But now that we're moving into air, things will be speeding up. And so there's a lot going on inside of us when we go through this ascension and awakening. And eventually we have to adjust. So it can be, like I said, a very painful process if you resist. And the dark night of the soul for me, of the evaluation of the patterns and the behaviors, the initial dark night of the soul lasted about 9 months. No different than birthing a child, birthing a new energy, right? And so it's a very overwhelming feeling of disorientation, outer body experiences, like you don't know where you are, you don't know what time it is. There's a loss of sense of identity and place going on. Because you're not in Kansas anymore. You're not in the 3D anymore. And so it could be like a life-shattering event, a move. There's usually something that triggers it, but we're moving into these higher realms of existence. And so we go through physical aches and pains, right? So as we adjust our frequency, we have to shed the lower dense energies within our physical body. And so we also go through a physical purification. You almost like your skin starts to like shine and glow the further along the ascension process you get, right? And so, because as we purify the spiritual energy, we're releasing all of these physicality blocks, right? And we're releasing all of the blocked energy in our physical body that keeps us stuck vibrating in a third dimensional reality. And so while we're vibrating into these higher dimensions, and I, like said, I just fast tracked, it's like you go way up and you come down. And so it is a process, right? It is a spiral, and we continually go back to things to understand things at a deeper level. And so it will be a spiral. And so if we took in all of the light codes all at once, I don't think we would survive this ascension process. And so it's the energy of going through judgment without having to die. So it's like going through a death in your physical life for this ascension, right? Tapping into the Akashic records without actually physically dying, but it feels like you're physically dying sometimes. I know sleep, you start waking up at night between 2 to 4 a.m. usually, or 1 to 4 a.m., or 3 to 5 a.m. And so you wake up at these early hours in the morning. Like this morning, I was up at 4:44. I'm usually up between 3 and 5:30 consistently for like the last year now, which I love because I'm deeply connected at that time with my guides and the energies, and I can channel very easily without the collective distortion at that time. But we wake at that time because that's also part of the cleansing. That's also part of the connection to the guides. And there's a lot that clears in astral states, in dream states. And so nightmares, I remember nightmares at the beginning of the journey because you're clearing the shadow distortion of the programming and so dream states. So that is why I always encourage everybody to journal and keep a dream journal. Journaling is what was like one of the biggest lifesavers for me at the beginning of the awakening. Journaling, music really allowed me to ebb and flow through any overwhelming emotions or memories that I couldn't quite put into words, because a lot of this is just an understanding, and it's really hard to put energy into words. And so all of this is part of this cleansing process. You'll notice memory loss, or like WTF moments, right? Short-term memory loss, usually short-term memory loss. And then eventually you get to a point where there's only a vague remembrance of the past. And it is a process of releasing the past. And so we're shifting usually through a couple dimensions at once on the awakening, usually more than one dimension at a time. Usually the beginning stages, you're shifting. I know I went way up to 13, the 13th dimension. And then in the dark night of the soul and the ascension process, it was a spiral between 7 and 3, sometimes down to 2, to 2D. And so it's a process, right, of this experience as we transition, and we go back and forth, up and down, back and forth, up and down, as part of the remembrance of the past and the cleansing and the purging, until the old is forever gone. Until it's gone, until you're fully rooted in the new. And so I've been on this process of purging now, I'm going to say semi-consciously since about 2016, super consciously after my twin flame activation and awakening. And so we have to go into all of the parts of the old until they're forever gone, because we're here to be rooted in the now, and that is the way of the new world, of new earth, is the now. So we can't hold on to the past. And so a lot of us start to come into seeing things, which is the third eye, the peripheral vision. The third eye peripheral is what I like to call it. You always see things like, oh my God. Don't be afraid of those things that you're seeing. You'll start to hear things, which is the clairaudience coming back online. I know when my clairaudience come back online, it was like a spirit come knocking, and I answered the door. And so that's also part of experiencing the different dimensions. Usually you get the ringing in the ears, which is creating like a download or frequency upgrade. And so all of this happens as part of this transition, and we go through many stages, like I said, because we just can't be blasted all at once. And so all of these gifts will be dependent on how open and how sensitive you are, how in tune and how wired you are to the cosmos. You go through this huge, massive loss of identity. Like everything you knew to exist is gone. You lose yourself. You don't know who you are. Everything that was a part of your life before is no longer there. It's gone. I lost all of my friends. Well, I didn't lose them. I cut them all out. I just was like Queen of Swords and everybody, like done with y'all, done. And this is part of the clearing of the old patterns, right? Because everything that really was a part of your life prior to the activation or the awakening kind of has to leave, because usually it's not going to come with you in that new higher frequency upgrade. And so there's a lot of mirroring that goes on the twin flame journey, once again, until the old you is no longer there, until the most authentic you is there, rooted in the now reality. And so you come out of this awakening, as painful as it is, and I am a testament to that, as this embodiment of light. You come out of the awakening experience holding more light. Your life is simpler. Your life is purified. You're representing the divine you on the other side. It's like everything's in order, everything's okay, and life is still going to happen, but everything's okay. So that's the good thing to look forward to. I know the outer body feelings were huge for me. It's like somebody's talking through you. It's like it's not even you. And so that's the channeling, right? And also this is like a natural defense mechanism as all of the trauma surfaces and we clear all of these negative survival patterns. And so, because we go under a lot of stress as we awaken, right? And all of the fear being transmuted as we feel all of our past traumas, and it does feel overwhelming, and sometimes we often feel out of control, because for me it activated all of the traumas all at once, and being a triple split soul, it activated my grandmother's traumas, my mother's traumas, and I went into my great-grandmother's past lives and traumas, and I was shown so many identities along my ancestral lineage with my mother's side of the family. It was insane. I actually did lose my mind. My family did send me off to the loony bin as part of my awakening, and it was very traumatizing, and I had absolutely nobody to turn to, nobody to go to seek answers, and I was here in a small town girl, all alone, and really had nowhere to turn to. And so the first 9 months of the awakening was a very difficult process for me to endure and to go through. It was when I was in a very toxic karmic cycle, the darkest hours of my days. And so we do have to go through that experience, though. Most of us go through that experience. And so we go through a lot too physically. And so you might notice, like, as you go through these outer body experiences, you might find needing to eat a lot or eat less, right? And so always trust your physical body to guide you too as part of this ascension process, because it all eventually passes, right? Everything eventually passes. This too shall pass. So we go through periods too of like deep sleeping where all we want to do is sleep and all we want to do is lay there, and we are absolutely utterly exhausted and we can't move for days. That's where you need to be. So be in that energy if that's where you need to be, because there's going to be days where you can't freaking sleep for days on end because you're receiving downloads and you're accumulating all of these new energies that you're being asked to integrate. And so it's like the resting is a building up for the next phase of the ascension. And then when we don't sleep, it's like the tear down, right? And so I find too, during my ascension process, like if, depending on, where I'm at, getting downloads or staying grounded, my weight can very easily fluctuate. And so I can easily gain 20 pounds in a week and then drop that within the next 2 weeks, depending on the energy shift. And so your weight might fluctuate, right? As you go through the processing. And so don't attach to the external. It is an inner journey. Remember that, and the weight shifts too due to all of these heightened sensitivities. And so when I'm channeling a lot of energies, or when I do a lot of energy healing work, I crave chips and I crave candy and I crave chocolate. And so when I'm doing a lot of ascension energy work or receiving a lot of downloads or codes, I eat a lot of junk food. When I'm in a state of zen, when I'm in a state of lull, like the period of sleeping, which I don't really go through that anymore, but just a period of lull, I'm like intermittent fasting, and I'm not craving those things because the energy is low. So once again, trust what your body is asking you to give it during these times of transition on the ascension journey. Because we go through all of these barely tolerable downloads and stimulations and triggers. It's overwhelming and it's triggering. We get easily overstimulated as all of these gifts come back online. And so I know at first it was like just pure chaos in this house with 2 young children. And during the time of my awakening, my little one was like a toddler. She was so tiny. I used to run a home daycare, actually. In this whole area of the house, I ran a home daycare. And so as I started to come back online, the intensity of of the overstimulation was very hard to handle. And so it does pass. You do learn to get rooted in this newfound reality after sifting through the disillusionment. But this is all part of the process. You go through stages where you don't want to do anything at all. You have no drive. You have no will, maybe even no will to live. I call that like the void. I call it the spiritual void, the place of the darkness where we plant those seeds. It's a reboot, right? It's like a spiritual reboot. And so that's also like dark night of the soul energy. And so we go in and out, right? And I still go into voids. That's where we create. It is the place of creation, the void, right? And so this is where we gain additional information, or we reach higher heights and realms during these voids or dark night of the soul. This is where things are happening below the surface. So we got to ask the universe to bring us what we want when we're in the void, and we got to trust in the energy of being able to receive that too. One of the biggest things you'll notice is an intolerance for low vibrational things. Like, I stopped watching television like prior to the awakening. I really did kind of give up that prior to. And so it's like the pre-quit. Same with giving up cigarettes. There was a pre-quit for me. And so you'll just naturally and organically release these lower frequency things, like stop drinking pop. I drink water, tea. I still can't give up my coffee. I really like my coffee, but I did give up sugar. I gave up putting sugar in my coffee. So I just drink coffee with 1% milk. I don't even put cream in it. And so you'll make healthier decisions. You will be more reflective in your communication, in your conversations. Your attitude will shift because you'll be calmer. You'll be more rooted in a state of peace. Your whole social group, your whole society structures will begin to change. You'll start maybe looking into, markets or new healing modalities. You'll start reading books about esoterics and healing modalities. And basically anything low vibrational will just start to make you sick. I know that's why I had to quit smoking. I couldn't freaking breathe in the morning. I was a smoker for 30 years. I didn't think I'd ever see the day where I quit smoking. And I just woke up at the Gemini full moon and I was like, I'm done. And so I was sick. It makes you sick inside. And so you just naturally gravitate towards what your body needs, towards healthier choices other than the chips, the candy, and the chocolate. But I gave up alcohol. I went through many periods throughout my life for decades of on and off drug abuse and addictions. Many of us will struggle with addictions in our earlier years due to the amount of trauma that we've been through. And that's not for everybody, but that's also a process of the dark night of the soul and going into the mysteries of the darkness to understand certain patterns within relationship structures to bring that knowledge forward. And so what I feel now is like we're losing more desire for certain things. And it really does become a process of alignment of self. And so you get to this place on the journey where there's nothing in alignment with your energy but your immediate home life. And then that's where you start the restructuring of the foundation on the journey, right? You'll start to have less desire for like fast food or junk food as you adjust. And so you also go through this period of you just don't want to be here anymore. You just wish you could die. I remember that. Like, just take me, Lord, take me away. And so you notice all of your friends disappear. All your friends disappear. All of your old things that you used to enjoy are gone. You might lose a job. You might have to unexpectedly move. A lot of us go through losing everything as part of the awakening, like bankruptcy. Some of us go through having to learn to be homeless. That's not for everybody, but we go through these very like painful awakenings as part of this disillusionment. And so all of this is because none of this stuff is going to match that new vibration. And so God kind of comes in, the energy kind of comes in and takes that all away to get you to this better place. So you got to trust in that, right? And you just get to a point where you just can't do certain things at all anymore. So I decided to give up dyeing my hair this year too. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I got some grays coming in, and Kenzie likes to point out that I got a little bald spot back here. So I'm like, I'm done dyeing my hair this year. I'm giving that up, although I've had every hair color you can imagine. I'm pretty sure this is close to my natural color, but it's turning gray from all of the stress, all of the trauma. We're going to let it grow. So like things like that. I don't go get my nails done. Stuff like that is like nothing to me, right? And so like the usual material 3D existence means nothing to you, and it feels awful too, right? To force yourself to be around certain things or do certain things or be around certain people, and you can't do it anymore. And so all of this is because they don't match your new frequency. So we have to go through a period of being alone. And that's where we learn to manifest. That's where we learn to attract. And you will still attract low vibrational people. You will still attract people that need your light. But you will attract people more aligned with your frequency, more aligned with growth. And the biggest thing I can say on the journey is let yourself ebb and flow through the people that you meet, because not everybody is going to stay. 90% of the people that you meet after your awakening too, it's for a clearing, a karmic clearing. It's for a lesson. It's for growth. And then we all go about our own way, our own day, because we all have our own purpose, our own mission, and we're all interdependent. And so a lot of the collective right now, I feel, are feeling the days of extreme fatigue. We go through days of extreme fatigue because we're losing the old 3D density, and we're going through the higher frequency restructuring of our cellular DNA. And so this is where you might want to eat a lot, right? When we go through this restructuring of the DNA, we get attacked. And so we're going to crave sugar, we're going to crave candy, we're going to crave junk food, we're going to crave French fries. I craved poutine a lot too. Love me some poutine. I lived in Quebec for a while in my early 20s, and they got the best poutine in Canada. And so eating often, right? You might gain weight. Like I said, I can fluctuate like no tomorrow. I don't even know. And so that's why I don't even own a scale. I don't even care. And I wear a lot of stretchy pants. But anyway. And so this is all part of the ascension process. Sometimes you gain so much weight, you feel you're huge, but you need that amount of fuel for the ascension when you rise. So trust that, okay? And this is where also we need to learn to practice non-judgment. I gained a lot of weight during the dark night of the soul. When I started the awakening process, I was like a teeny tiny size 4. I was tiny, tiny, tiny. But I wasn't like healthy tiny, right? I wasn't healthy. But I gained a lot of weight in the dark night of the soul. I think I jacked right up to like a 14 or a 16. I don't know what I'm at now, probably back down to a 12. And this is where I feel really healthy at. And I fluctuate here usually a little bit, 5 or 10 pounds. But this is part of the process too, the fluctuation as the body loses the dense matter and restructurizes into the new higher frequencies. And so trust your body. It knows what it's doing. And the less you judge yourself, the easier the transformation process is. It allows you to just lean into that self-love, right? Because you got to learn to love yourself, because guess what? We have to look in the mirror every single day until the day we do physically leave this reality. So learn to love yourself. We experience all of these extreme emotional ups and downs, weeping, uncontrollable weeping. We don't even know why the hell we're crying. Our emotions is the outlet for the release of the dense energy. Do not resist a good cry. I think I cried like a million tears. I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried for months. I released a lot of pain, a lot of trauma. I just want to go home. I can't tell you how many times I begged and begged and begged and begged the universe, take me home. I want to go home. If it wasn't for my children, I probably would have killed myself, because it was so extreme, the intense awakening that I experienced. I did not want to be here anymore. I still go through bouts of not wanting to be here anymore, because we're returning to source and we want to go back to that source, right? And so we're returning to the source that we came from. It feels kind of like everything's over, like our life is over and we just want to leave, right? But this is part of the process that we agreed to create this new earth. So trust in the process, okay? Because we can't have the new without the releasing of the old. And so our old plans are closing out. We've completed these lessons. And so we're going insane as we kind of break the mold. We expand the consciousness, right? So it feels like you're losing your mind. Feels like you're going insane. It feels like, where the hell did this effing mental illness come from? And that's what it felt like for me. I'm like 39 years old. I go through this awakening and all of a sudden I get diagnosed with a mental illness. After 40 years of being on this planet, never had a mental illness, was diagnosed with bipolar and psychosis after my ascension. And so because we're rapidly experiencing several dimensions at once, and we go through this great awakening or this great crown opening, kind of like I experienced, like I was 13 and down and up and down. And this was a process of 3 days of ascension for me back in 2019. It feels like you're going insane, and the emotions attached to all of the dimension shifting is actually overwhelming. And so much energy was being downloaded and available to me. And I didn't even know what was in my awareness or heightened awareness. I wasn't even in control of anything going on in my reality. It was like the energy of gliding on angels' wings. And so it passes. And I'll tell you one thing, that was the freaking high of my life. And I have dabbled in all kinds of unhealthy things. And that was the high of my life. And that was the high of God source love in waking state. Like I ascended into the heavens in waking state without a near-death experience. It was the most beautiful, horrifying experience I ever went through. And then to come back down from that high, I had to work through the anger, right? And so that put me in the dark night of the soul. And so what comes up must come down. What is that? Newton's law? The law of gravity. What goes up must come down. And so bring it down to the apple. The apple, right? Anyway. And so we have to clear anxiety and panic. I know I couldn't leave the house for the longest time after my awakening, especially when it came to the trigger for my twin flame journey. I couldn't leave the house for the longest time without going into full-blown panic attacks. Every time I would see a yellow or an orange and yellow vested construction worker or construction truck, I would go into full-blown panic mode, like complete and utter shock. I would shake, I would tremble, I would almost vomit in my lap if I was in the car. I'd have to pull over. Like it would take me hours to clear, like almost like a convulsion, like a seizure from the shock and the anxiety and the panic from the awakening, because the awakening itself was so traumatic and I was so afraid to reopen the third eye. I shut everything down in the dark night of the soul. And so we go into like this system overload almost, because so much is happening at once that we don't understand. And all of these Akashic memories are being triggered that we don't understand. And so this is very difficult energy. We are developed for survival, and the awakening path is asking us to lose that behavioral pattern. And so we do have to go through this process of losing our mind to find our soul. So it's hard. It's hard, right? We feel vulnerable. We feel powerless on the awakening journey. But when we get to the other side, there's so much love. There's so much unity. So you just got to work through it. You got to wait it out, because depression is also part of the journey. Depression is saying we're not in alignment. Our outer world is not in alignment with our inner calling. And so if you are still stuck in a state of depression, it's because you're somewhere you don't need to be. And so release that lower, darker energy that you are connected with, okay? And see it through, right? Be willing to see through people too. You can't keep hanging in there when you need to walk away from something. And usually the universe will bring forward those messages in dreams, like vivid, wild, violent dreams, right? And so we release a lot of past life memories in dream state in these vivid, wild dreams. And so we gotta remember, we spent many lifetimes in lower vibrational energies and timelines, playing into war, playing into power struggling dynamics, and now we have to pay the piper. And so sometimes we experience beautiful dreams. But that is the initial activation of the third eye, I feel. We clear a lot in dream space because of the trauma. So if you are having nightmares too, and sometimes we have them in daytime. But this is all part of the clearing. So if you wake up with night sweats and hot flashes, you're likely clearing a lot of negative past life karma in dream space. And so that helps us burn off the lower frequency density too within our physical body. You'll notice like a big part of the awakening is things will just change suddenly. Like you think your life is going in this direction, all of a sudden you're going in this direction. And this is your soul's balancing out energy, your soul's balancing out karma. And we have karma to clear with many soul contracts, okay? And so sometimes it feels great to go in the new direction. And sometimes it gets you right into a rut that you didn't even see coming. But it's all about choices. It's all about vibration. And usually we create this very karmic situation that seems like our worst nightmare that we're trapped in, that we have to learn to get out of. And this is where our soul learns to stretch its limits. This is where we realize where we're lacking. And this is what I call the karmic soul contract that can take many years to break free from. But this is where we do the balancing of the energy, the dancing and the balancing of the energy. This is where we find our way back to peace, right? So I think there's a lot of us on the journey that are looking back. There's a lot of us just waking up that weren't ready for this. I don't think we're ever really ready for the awakening. But once you have the experience, you just can't turn it off. There's no getting off the journey. And when you're through the journey and you're looking back and you're looking back in this place of gratitude, you're going to be a completely different person. And I think you're going to look back on the journey and you're going to say, man, I wouldn't have changed nothing for the world, because that's what we came here for, right? The new. And so it is a very painful process to go through ascension, because we are clearing the old and manifesting the new. So I hope that helped you guys out a little bit. Let me know what you think in the comment section if you'd like to see more of these videos, twin flame alignment videos. I do plan on recording and releasing a special divine feminine and divine masculine downloaded message at some point this weekend. So please look out for that and bear with me if it doesn't get posted until later in the weekend. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being a part of my journey, and I look forward to where we can all grow together.